Hey there, movie lovers. Welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're stepping into the world of Tarantino with one of the most iconic films of the 90s, Pulp Fiction. This film shook up Hollywood with its non-linear storytelling, unforgettable characters, and quotable dialogue that's still talked about today. But how much do you really know about what went on behind the scenes? From unexpected casting choices to the genius decisions that made this film a modern classic, we've got all the hidden secrets and trivia you didn't know. So grab a Royale with cheese and let's twist through 18 things you never knew about Pulp Fiction. The original inspiration for Tarantino and Roger Avary's Pulp Fiction script came from a 1963 horror film titled Black Sabbath, which is also the source of the name for the 70s heavy metal band. Initially, the script was called Black Mask, after a popular crime magazine from the 1920s. Before it was released, Tarantino persuaded Avary to relinquish his co-writing credit in favour of a story by credit. This was to ensure the prominent line, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, could be used in the film's promotion. At that time, Tarantino worked with a script editor named Linda Chen, who would review all of his screenplays. Tarantino named Amanda Plummer's character after Chen's pet rabbit, Honey Bunny. Speaking about Tarantino, Chen has said, "He's a functional illiterate, a terrible speller. The first draft was a diary of a madman." The first draft was a staggering 500 pages long. That's equivalent to around 8.5 hours of screen time. The first studio to take interest in the screenplay was TriStar, who optioned it before Miramax came on board. Tarantino received feedback from Mike Medavoy, the head of TriStar, with comments such as, "Too demented, what's going on, someone's dead and then they're alive, the worst thing ever written." As a result, TriStar placed the script into turnaround and every other studio passed, except Miramax. There were many actors up for different parts, as you can probably imagine. One of those that came close to giving us a different film was Michelle Pfeiffer. Before Uma Thurman got the part, she was Tarantino's favourite contender for playing Mia Wallace. It might be hard to imagine anyone other than Samuel L. Jackson as Jules, but it almost didn't happen. Tarantino had Jackson in mind for the role, but after auditioning Paul Calderon, he was so impressed by his performance that he came close to hiring him instead. Determined to reclaim his role, Jackson flew to LA and auditioned for Tarantino once more. He originally wrote the part of Butch as a young boxer, with Matt Dillon specifically in mind. He has said, "I wrote it for Matt, and it seemed like it was going to be easy getting him, but he read it and he wasn't so sure about it." One of Dillon's main concerns, according to Tarantino, was that he wanted to see Butch actually boxing. However, when Dillon took too long to decide on the role, it was tweaked slightly to suit Bruce Willis. Tarantino originally wrote the role of Vincent Vega specifically for Michael Madsen. He was aware of Tarantino's plans and eager to take on the role, but dropped out 2 weeks before the script was completed to star in Wyatt Earp. Tarantino has a long-standing tradition of connecting characters across his films. Madsen's casting as Vince would have added an intriguing twist. It could have made him the twin of Mr. Blonde, also known as Vic Vega, Madsen's character from Reservoir Dogs, as it has long been known that Vince and Blonde are brothers. Tarantino named the Vega brothers after the singer Suzanne Vega, and there's even a deleted scene in which Vincent tells Mia that Susan Vega is his cousin. Interestingly, Tarantino once toyed with the idea of a spin-off film titled Double V Vega. The prequel to both Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs would have been set in Amsterdam. However, Tarantino admitted the concept never progressed beyond the initial idea stage. It is also widely believed that Christopher Walken's Captain Coons is a descendant of the character Crazy Craig Coons from Django Unchained, who is only mentioned by name in a wanted poster. The movie is packed with iconic lines of dialogue, with one of the most famous being Jules's biblical quote monologue, the Ezekiel 25:17 speech. However, the dialogue is not actually a direct quote from the Bible. Tarantino borrowed it from a 1976 Japanese martial arts film starring Sonny Chiba, called The Bodyguard. While he didn't take it word for word, the essence is similar. Tarantino initially wrote the Ezekiel monologue for From Dusk Till Dawn, a vampire horror film he wrote and Robert Rodriguez directed. In that version, Harvey Keitel's character, a preacher, was meant to recite the passage to vampires. If you're enjoying the video, a subscribe to the channel would be more satisfying than a big kahuna burger after a long day. The second time we encounter Pumpkin and Honey Bunny, there's a deliberate overlap between the two segments, and we witness the conclusion of the opening scene replaying. However, subtle differences emerge between the two versions. In the opening scene, the line Honey Bunny yells at the diners is slightly different to the one delivered in the revisit in the final sequence. This discrepancy isn't an error, obviously. The opening scene is presented from Pumpkin and Honey Bunny's perspective, while the second iteration reflects Jules' point of view, and his memory of the event differs slightly. Since this version is from Jules' perspective, there's a deleted scene where he imagines shooting through the table, killing Pumpkin, before turning to shoot Honey Bunny, ending her life as well. The scene then cuts back to Jules, revealing it was all in his mind. Tarantino removed this sequence, feeling it disrupted the pacing and rhythm of the scene. The original poster featured Uma Thurman smoking from a box of Lucky Strike cigarettes rather than the Red Apple brand. However, Miramax hadn't secured the licensing rights for Lucky Strike, and the company threatened to sue. Rather than engage in a legal battle, Miramax recalled the posters. The few that survived are now highly sought after and can fetch a significant price. The mysterious suitcase in the film is secured with the combination 666, famously known as the number of the beast. Tarantino has said that the contents of the case are intentionally left unexplained. It serves as a classic MacGuffin, a narrative device meant to drive the plot forward. Initially, the script called for the case to hold diamonds, but this idea was deemed too ordinary. Instead, for the filming, the case was fitted with a concealed orange light bulb, which emitted an eerie, otherworldly glow whenever the suitcase was opened. When Tarantino appeared on screen as Jimmy, someone else had to take charge behind the camera, and that someone was Robert Rodriguez. The two would later collaborate on several other projects, including From Dusk Till Dawn and Grindhouse. Jules was initially written with a huge afro, but the crew member tasked with buying the wig mistakenly confused an afro with a jerry curl and ended up purchasing a jerry curl wig instead. Jackson tried it on, Tarantino liked the look, and it was kept. According to Jackson, all the gangbangers had jerry curls. One of the most striking elements of the film is its soundtrack. Tarantino blended 60s rock and roll, pop, and surf music to create the film's distinctive sound. However, there were some tracks he couldn't use. The music that plays when Butch returns to the pawn shop with a samurai sword is Comanche, a song by the Rebels. Initially, Tarantino wanted to use My Sharona by the Knack for this scene. However, when the studio contacted the band, the Knack had already received an offer from Universal to feature the song in Reality Bites. Burton Avere, the guitarist for the Knack, said that one offer was for this hip, cool young comedy starring Winona Ryder. The other was for an assault scene. That's a tough choice. The Knack weren't the only band to turn Tarantino down. He also wanted Fabienne to wear a Frankie Says Relax t-shirt, but Frankie Goes to Hollywood refused. Holly Johnson, the band's lead singer, wrote a letter explaining, "The connotation is too negative with regards to the overdose, panic and foul language." Tarantino was torn between playing Jimmy and portraying Vincent's dealer, Lance. He chose to play Jimmy as he wanted to be behind the camera for the scene where Vincent gives Mia the shot. It's no surprise Pulp Fiction dropped more F-bombs than any other film released in 1994, 265 of them. Even with that impressive tally, it wasn't Tarantino's record. 1992's Reservoir Dogs featured the word 269 times. Still, it was the dominant F-word contender of 1994, as no other film released that year came close to matching its level of profanity. Just in case you're wondering, SwearNet the movie from 2014 apparently has the most with 935, 8.35 F-bombs per minute. John Travolta's character in the film drove a sweet ride, which in real life belonged to Tarantino. It was such a prized possession, and it was stolen shortly after the film's release. The car wasn't found for nearly 2 decades until 2 police officers stumbled upon a pair of kids stripping an older vehicle. After checking the VIN number, they discovered it matched a car in Oakland, which turned out to be Tarantino's. Even though the film became a tremendous hit, particularly given its modest budget, it took a while to get there. The film was released for 178 days before it finally reached 100 million domestically. That said, it went on to gross more than 200 million worldwide during its theatrical run. Pulp Fiction made its debut at the Cannes Film Festival in May 1994. The film was showcased at a midnight screening where it created a sensation and went on to win the Palme d'Or, the festival's most prestigious award. Just a few months later, Tarantino was further recognized when he took home the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, cementing the film's place in cinematic history. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about Pulp Fiction. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.